a.m. Saturday, September 28th, I believe. I think we're gonna head over towards Emerald Bay today. Well, it's lobster season. Started last night. You know what that means? Means there's gonna be lobster pots planted right in front of the channel here, right in front of the entrance to Angel's Gate, as these knuckleheads always do. So we're going to stay in the channel a little bit longer, get a little bit further out, and then we'll put the genoa up and see if we can start doing a little bit of sailing. But I want to try and stay in the channel and keep an eye out for these lobster pots. I can already see several of them out here. There's a string of them all the way over here, and you got a couple of boats dropping right now. At least these guys are not in the channel proper, which is nice. Technically we're sailing, well, I guess we're sailing, so 4.3 knots, 4.2 with about 7.5 knots of true, and we're 70 degrees off course. I can see the island, I can see the east end over there. I can see the dip at the isthmus, so we want to head over this way, and we are not going to make it on this tack. As usual, the wind starts to lift a little bit. I can bring her up a little higher. We need a little bit more wind though to point a lot higher. We're at 60 degrees apparent. I think we can go a little higher than that. Watch out, too much prop. We're pointing a little high for this light wind. I put the staysail out too, just for the heck of it. We're 6 right now. Actually, it's not super bad. Bimini Solar is almost 100% shaded, so this thing is never going to produce a lot of power. I don't even know if it's maybe barely worth its weight in the power that it provides, but that's okay. These panels behind me, they're okay. I'm not getting the high-end output. I think I need to still separate. These are on the same controller. Works really well in low light conditions, which is pretty awesome. A beautiful day. Now I can see the island even better. There's the Two Harbors area, and I can see the west end. East end's over here. So we're able to come up quite a bit, which is nice. We're still gonna have to either throw in a great big tack later this afternoon, or we're gonna have to motor for a couple of hours, hour and a half to get to Emerald Bay, if that's where we decide to go. About 10 after 1. Well, very similar conditions. So the conditions haven't really changed much since we've been out here for the last hour. We got lifted up a little bit. The winds have settled in, and it's just absolutely beautiful. The water's flat. We've got good visibility over to the island. We can see the west end, the isthmus, Two Harbors area. And we're probably doing about 5.5 to 6 knots very consistently on this flat water. Now we're moving. All right, we're about 15 knots maybe, hard on the wind. We're getting a pretty good heel going, so I think what we'll do is drop the Traveler a bit, see if we can flatten her out just a hair. I don't think we're going to need to do much other than drop the Traveler. I don't think we'll have to reef or any of that nonsense today. gonna go ahead and tame her down a little bit. So gonna head up into the wind, slow us down a little, and then I'm gonna see if I can't furl this Geno in without the sheets wrapping around and killing anybody. And then we'll be main and staysail alone. Pulling in that Geno is somewhat less than elegant, but we slowed her down. We're doing about 5.5 knots right now. It's pretty chill. The staysail on the main will be easy, and I'm good with us making 5.5 into the island. So as we get a little bit closer, it'll be easier to manage. We still have about maybe 3.5 miles, just eyeballing it to the island. Motor sailing with the main up. We're doing a little over 5 knots. We're bashing. So I can run that motor a little bit, try and get some more power into the battery since I've been making water and running the Starlink unnecessarily. And then we've got about 5 nautical miles to go till Emerald Bay. We'll stop by and scope out the situation. It's a little windy out right now. If it dies down a little bit, we'll consider anchoring if the wind dies down a little bit, but I don't know. It's not a big anchorage. And I don't want to be exposed to where SV Blue Away is, which is kind of west of Eagle Rock on the outside. We've got about 2 more miles to bash to Emerald Bay. There's Bird Rock, the ship rock right in front of us over to starboard a little bit. So we'll just keep motor sailing. We get in a little bit closer, we'll take a look. Sailing vessel Blue Away is anchored out there. He's on the outside of Indian Rock, so he's a little bit west of the rocks there. I prefer to actually anchor south versus being more exposed, but there's less room in there. So there's also a fair amount of kelp too. So we're gonna do a drive-by. We may come back to the Isthmus, Two Harbors area and anchor or pick up a mooring. So still blowing 13 knots here at Emerald Bay. There's Indian Rock right next to us. And right in front of us is sailing vessel Blue Away. You can see it a few miles away.
3 or 5, I don't know, a long ways away you can see those things.
Nice. So you're in 60 feet, a little bit of kelp I see.
Yeah, I was over there last night and I drifted, I swung this way. I'm kind of in some kelp on the back end of my boat here.
How much scope do you have out?
200.
200? Yeah, I'm debating. I usually anchor right on the other side of Indian Rock over there.
Single hook?
Yeah. All right, we got a little bit of wind here. 10 knots, starting to calm down. think I'm going to try and anchor in this spot here. I got to get on the other side of this kelp bed though. All right, we're snubbed in 54 feet. I think the anchor actually may be closer to somewhere in the 40s. We've got about 250 out. I don't have all the chain out. Should be fine with the approximate 5-to-1 scope here. Here's the moorings behind us. We'll set an anchor watch. I backed down on it fairly well. So at least for the moment, I'm fairly confident that we're not dragging. And I'm seeing 13.3 knots of wind. So looks like we're holding well. And it's just coming up on 5 o'clock. So I imagine people are going to be blowing their horns here pretty soon, as they do at Catalina at 5 p.m. All right, you know what time it is. It's captain's hours. Cheers, everyone. Cooking with keel dragger. I've got some water boiling, and then I got this saucepan here. I'll turn it down. Just gonna make simple spaghetti. This is homemade spaghetti sauce that the Admiral made with. It's got Italian sausage in there and stuff, so I just need to heat it up. And then nothing really exciting about the spaghetti. But I thought I'd do something kind of super simple. A little tired from that nice sail coming in today and the work I was doing this morning. So I'm good to chill and just relax and enjoy a little bit of spaghetti. All right, there it is. So this is Indian Rock here. Bill and SV Blue Away is straight ahead. He's on the outside. It's mostly empty here. I think summer's pretty much officially done. We're holding well, but we haven't drifted. The anchor alarm's not gone off. Behind us should be on our port side, to the right of your screen. There's Holland's, which is right around the corner. I can see a couple of moorings there. And then this little head right here, so that's Ship Rock, that's Bird Rock, and then this head right here is Lion's Head. Go right around that is Cherry Cove. Go inside, and then you have 4th of July Cove and the Isthmus there at Two Harbors. All right, here you go, 6:30 a.m. on the hook at Emerald Bay. The view of Ship Rock looking east. Overcast. Little, but I can see some open sky above us. So I recommissioned the water maker, and I'm going to go ahead and purge the starboard tank. So the water maker goes into the port tank, and then I can transfer to starboard. So I'm going to go ahead and empty the contents of my starboard tank, and then I'm going to move RO water. So I've got a little manifoldy like system here. We will close port and open starboard, and now we'll just let the sink run for the next 20 minutes and empty all the water out of the starboard tank. Then you'll hear this pump. So this will take a little while. It's about 10 after 7. It'll probably take 15 minutes, 20, I don't know. 7:30, and the starboard tank is empty. So now we switch a couple of other valves. We'll turn off the starboard tank. We will open the port tank again, where all our RO water is. And then let's make sure that the pump is primed. Turn the pump back on. Try and get the air out of the pressure accumulator tank. Now the pump will pressure up. I can hear it pulling water. Okay. Now we open up this little transfer pump and we let the pump run for another. Hope we don't burn this thing up. It's fine. It's not hot. Open that up. I wanted to clean this little filter here. Let's go ahead and turn the transfer pump on. Now we wait another 20 minutes or so. And we can tell by the sound of the pump when we're done pulling water. So 20 minutes of that, and then we'll start making water and refilling the port tank, and then we'll have both tanks filled with RO water. Now it's about 8 a.m. I'm making water to refill the port tank with RO water, so I'm gonna run that probably all the way home. Now I'm trying to make a decision here. Here's my course from Emerald Bay back to Los Angeles Harbor to Angels Gate, and it's there's a plug for flight level 0. Check them out. This is the path. I'm just looking at the wind with predict wind to see what the sailing's gonna look like if I left now, and it looks super light. So if I look at the tables, this black line is the European model ECMWF, and that's the one I usually go by around here. It seems to be the best for me. If there's convergence, green is GFS, which is the American model. There's a gap in here, but you look at best case 8 knots. The other thing I look at is I do have the premium subscription to Windy, which is pretty decent deal, and I'm gonna zoom in here. We're over here in this area for Emerald Bay. Now if I zoom out, and if I just go through this afternoon and see what we get, 9 a.m., 10 a.m., 11, noon, 1. So there isn't much wind until about 1 o'clock or so. 2, 3, 4, 5. So if we were going to leave this afternoon, so that's what Wendy's telling me. It's using basically the same models as predict wind, so we're not really getting a different perspective here. It's really just more of a different visualization. And then the other thing I look at is the National Data Buoy Center. So this is the National Weather Service Marine Forecast. If you search on it's NOAA, KLOX is the station which covers the Channel Islands and where we're at. I scroll all the way down to the section where we're at, which is the inner waters from Point Mugu to San Mateo Point, including Santa Catalina and Anacapa Islands. Today, light winds becoming 10 to 20 knots, west 10 to 20 knots this afternoon, seas 2 to 3 feet, wave detail 2 feet at 7 seconds, and southwest 2 at 14 seconds, patchy fog this morning. So usually the National Weather Service is a little bit more conservative, so they will typically raise small craft advisories if they have any wind forecast in a general area. So it's quite possible you'll have a small craft advisory, and sometimes even like a gale warning when you don't see hardly any winds locally. So it's still good to look at the weather models and take a bigger picture kind of perspective on what's going on here. So, you know, from Point Piedras Blancas to Point Sal, westward out to 10, there's a small craft advisory that's further north. There's one from Point Piedras Blancas to Point Sal, 10 to 60 nautical miles out. Another one from Point Sal to Santa Cruz Island and westward, 60 nautical miles, including Santa Miguel and Santa Rosa Islands, another small craft advisory in effect. Another one, so if we were going to go out to Santa Barbara Islands, outer waters from Santa Cruz Island to San Clemente Island to 60 nautical miles offshore, including San Nicolas and Santa Barbara Islands. So the small craft advisory, if you look at what they forecast, is 10 to 20 knots, gust to 25 in the afternoon, sea 6 to 8 feet, wave detail 7 feet at 12 seconds, and southwest 2 feet at 14 seconds. Patchy fog this morning. So I can on two things. One is, what's the wind? 25 knots doesn't concern me. And then I look at the seas. The seas is probably the bigger thing. Well, wind is often an indicator for small craft advisory. Look at the sea state. 6 to 8 feet, 7 feet at 12 seconds. Like, it's not pleasant, but it's, you know, it's doable. 6 to 8 at 12 seconds is not horrible. If it was like at 10 seconds or less, that'd be really, really uncomfortable. So, you know, a lot of it's subjective as well in terms of, you know, your particular boat and what conditions you're comfortable with. So I wouldn't be concerned about being out in those conditions. I just wouldn't actively seek them out if I could sit here and just chill at anchor or do something else. 10 after 8, engine's running. Get a little worried about my solar production versus my power consumption with the water maker and Starlink and everything else, refrigerator running. So as expected, based on yesterday's consumption, I had the Starlink turned off last night. I'm down about 225 amp hours, which is out of a total of about 600 amp hours. So it's, you know, maybe about 40% of what I would want to use. At any rate, this, I need to check the connections and what's going on in this Bimini panel. Either it doesn't work hardly at all when it's shaded in the least little bit, or I don't have a good connection on one of the fittings. So I'm gonna double check all that and see if I can get better utilization, because I'm not getting much there. Well, you wonder if there's any kelp here. The short answer is yep. I gotta clear all this crap off the anchor. All right, let's get to work. That kelp tie-up was a lot worse than it looked. I find that if you pivot around 360 or 720 degrees, that much kelp would have been an absolute nightmare. It wasn't too bad to pull off. So we're up, we're moving. We're gonna do a drive-by with Sailing Vessel Blue Away, see how Bill's doing. He said it was a little bumpy for him out here, out on the outside of Indian Rock. We got a couple other boats joining him. Kind of tell by looking at Eagle Rock, or Indian Rock over here. Keep wanting to call it Eagle Rock, which is on the west end of Catalina. Kind of tell that the tide's up, and then on the chart plotter you can kind of validate it as well. So maybe less of a problem motoring here through this kelp area than it was yesterday. We actually have 8 knots of true right now, which is enough to sail with. I've got the main up, and I was going to run the engine a little bit to charge the battery back up. patch of kelp. Was gonna charge the old battery up a little bit. Not much solar going on, but we got plenty to get home on, and I'd rather sail if we can. So I'm gonna go ahead and pull the Genoa out, probably the staysail as well, because we've got the wind. True wind's coming just slightly behind us at about 95 degrees. That'll be good. That'll be good to put the Genoa and the staysail out. So we're gonna go ahead and do that, and then we'll see what kind of speed we get. 9.2 true, so maybe it'll even come up a hair as we get around the island, or it may die. So we'll experiment with it a little bit, but I'm keen to try and do a little bit of sailing. It's too nice to pass up. All right, 5.7 knots. We're running with a beam reach. Wind's straight across. We've got head sails both deployed, and the main is eased a little bit. 7 knots. Seven knots and a beam reach. Not in the shipping lanes yet, but Matsonia, which I can see way out there, is 8.73 nautical miles away with a 0.21 mile CPA, about an hour. So he's doing 11.9 knots. If we look at where this guy's at, here's us, here's the Matsonia, and these are the shipping lanes. So maybe he's coming in from Hawaii or something. Looks to me like he's going to converge on the shipping lane. So as we get a little bit closer, we'll probably head to port. I'm guessing cut behind him. I don't want to cut in front of him. So yeah, we're already we've got 14 miles to go, so we're not even quite mid-channel yet, and we're still already starting to negotiate shipping chips. Matsonia is 4.8 nautical miles away. Got a good viz on him, and bearing at 291. So I've been watching this. That number went down, which means we're tracking to pass in front of him with somewhere around a half mile CPA in about 34 minutes. We'll wait a little bit, and then we will hail them and see if we are good to stay on course. Matsonia, sailing vessel keel dragger on 1-6.
Keel dragger, Matsonia on 1-6.
Hi, good morning. You want to pick working channel?
Sure, 06.
06.
Good morning, keel dragger, Matsonia on 06.
This is keel dragger. Hey, I'm about 4 miles off your port bow. I see CPA bouncing around a little bit, less than a half mile. Just wanted to confirm if I'm okay to stay on course or if you need me to adjust. Over.
Okay, keel dragger, looks like you're going to cross ahead of me by more than half a mile. I'm fine if you stand on course and speed.
Copy that. Keel dragger will maintain on course and speed. Keel dragger back to 1-6. Have a good rest of the day.
You too. Matsonia back to 1614, out.
All right. Props to Matsonia. Super clear communication. We're going to get a close look at them, but they know where we're at. these high-vis sails up in front of us, they'll see us too. So that's cool. They're on the ball. And I've been watching where bearing is down now to 290. So if that number stays the same as boats are getting closer, that means there's risk of collision. And as I've been watching that number go down from 292, now at 289er, means we're in pretty good shape to pass in front of them by a half mile or so.
Hello, keel dragger. This is the playhouse. How are the winds up there? They're pretty brisk here.
Good morning. We've got about 12 to 13 knots, and I'm sailing just a little over 7 knots speed over ground. Over.
Yeah, we're about the same. How was Emerald Bay?
Emerald Bay was pretty good. A little rolly, but generally better than what I experienced on the hook at the Isthmus. So I got a decent night's sleep. It was a pretty nice trip.
Terrific. Well, we left about 20 minutes ago, and it's nice and sunny. At Avalon, as you know, they've got a film festival going on and a bunch of other things. Have you seen any of those fast boats zipping by you?
I had one yesterday evening, one loud zippy boat, but that was the only one that I noticed. They came by pretty close. Over.
Yeah, there was a squadron of cigarette boats down here.
Wouldn't you know it, it started dying down a little bit just as you know, we're converging. So I was seeing down to 20-foot CPA with Matsonia. So I went ahead and just fired up the engine to get us back up to 7 knots or so we can go ahead and get across these guys' bow as we agreed to. Blasting away close to 8 knots. Doing hull speed, trying to get the hell out of the way of these guys. We're up to actually about a mile CPA, so it's looking a little bit better. But I'm not going to rest until we get past this guy's bow, so got a little ways to go. He's at 2.34 miles. I mean, it's an 869 foot cargo ship, so it's definitely going to look like it's closer than it is. It's the Matsonia at about 1.5 miles. If I was eyeballing this without AIS, I would have backed off. It's a little loud. Would have backed off a while ago. So he's at 1.5 miles. We've got a, you know, about a 0.8 CPA, which is not horrible. Could be better, but ordinarily without the benefit of AIS and contacting these guys, I would have steered well behind them. And even, you know, even with a mile CPA, you know, I'd like to play it conservative. We've got good wind right now, so I'm moving under sail, so I'm not at too much danger if the engine quits, but the engine's just to pour on a little bit of extra speed just to give me a little bit more margin. We're fully across his bow now, so I went ahead and turned the engine off. We've got 13.5 knots of wind right now, and we're making good speed. We're doing 6.7 or so knots. It's been like this pretty much all the way across. Nice gentle beam reach, making good boat speed. Seas are relatively flat, and there's the Matsonian over there, so no other ships of concern. We've got about maybe 4.5 miles till Angel's Gate or so. I may actually refin the head sail a little bit early, just of anticipation as we're coming in a little bit heavier wind, so it might be easier to do that now, and I'm actually way ahead of schedule. We've been making great time across, so we're not in any hurry. We're just gonna go into chill mode in this last 45 minutes, hour, whatever it takes us to get in. So it was too easy pulling that head sail in. Helps when you've got the staysail out as well. But we slowed down to about 4.5 knots. We slowed down a little bit. I think the wind's 10 knots as well, a little bit less. So that's fine. It's pretty chill out. We're just gonna relax. I'm expecting more wind once we get into Hurricane Gulch, whether we're going to see 20 knots or so. We could, but since the head sail's in, and that's usually the biggest part to negotiate. Staysail furling is always easy, and the main is okay, but you know, sometimes you have to go forward and flake and stuff the main into the lazy cradle. No big deal. 20 till noon. We're still kind of chilling through about 4.5 knots. Finally, of course, we're about gone. Yeah, finally got some dolphins. Haven't seen any whales or anything. I don't think these guys are coming to play off the bow. I just think they're zooming through. Well, maybe they're screwing around up there. Yeah, so I can see the lobster pots going, what, a quarter of the way across the entrance here. Maybe hard to see on here, but they're little orange buoys there. Got busy here as I was putting the main down and putting the fenders out. Got a boat behind us coming in for a tow. We get out of the way.